Will there be newspapers?
Of course.
How will they look? How will you make money from newspapers in 5 to 10 years?
The way we make it now, I think from our readers, from our advertisers, and the newspapers may look very different. Instead of an analog paper printed on paper, you may get it on a panel, which will be mobile, which will receive the whole newspaper over the air, be updated every hour or two. All these things are possible. Some of the greatest electronic companies in the world are working on this very hard. I think it's 2 or 3 years away before they get introduced in a big way, and then it'll probably take 10 years, 15 years for the public to swing over.
We've demonstrated, and yesterday we had Plastic Logic, the CEO, the making one of the readers. So you think in 10 to 15 years
it's early days yet.
It's possible.
It's early days yet. The science has to improve electronic inks. Everybody's in about the same stage of development, but there's some very interesting developments.
Here's what I don't understand about the newspaper industry. If I'm a subscriber to the Wall Street Journal, and you've got international subscribers and American subscribers, but it is a fixed market of just hard copy subscribers, right? Theoretically, if I'm in Tahiti, it's hard to get delivery, but in Tahiti, I can access the web. So the circulation market, if you will, on the web for any newspaper has expanded to the globe. Anybody with internet access.
You're going to have to pay
for
your favorite newspaper on the web.
Why shouldn't that mean more money, not less money?
Well, because there may be less somewhere else, but yes, more eyeballs certainly. People are reading news today. They're reading it on the web. They're reading it on Google. They're reading it wherever.
It for free.
Exactly, and that's going to stop.
How? What's the model going to be? Micropayments?
I believe that newspapers will be selling subscriptions on the web.
That when you log into a website, there won't be any. There'll be a little like the Journal. There'll be some free content, mostly premium.
No. There'll be the whole thing there. The web, as it is today, our websites will be vastly improved, much more in them, and you'll pay for them. But there'll be other platforms. You'll be able to get, the guts or the main headlines and alerts and everything on your BlackBerry, on your Palm, or whatever, all day long. People need news. Communities live on news about their communities, but to be able to live and enjoy the world.
Well, the irony is that the one bright spot in the newspaper industry right now has actually been community papers. There's actually a local paper in New Jersey where I live that refuses to go on the internet, and it's profitable because they're just selling subscriptions. They say, why would I go on the web when we're doing just fine as we are?
Yeah.
How do things look?
They may be fine. I'm sure they're down. I'm sure they're down a lot in advertising. But their circulation, yes. There's a case that newspapers rushing onto the web to try and get a bigger audience and get more attention for themselves have damaged themselves. And now they're going to have to pull back from that and say, hey, we're going to charge for this.
That's a tiny community paper. And it seems like what's happening is that the small community papers, I live in Princeton, I read the Princeton Packet, because I want to know what happened down the block. So let's say they're fine. It seems like the super regionals we've seen Seattle PI, right? We've seen all the problems with the Boston Globe, some Minneapolis papers. Will it be tiny community papers and a couple, the Journal, maybe the Times, maybe USA Today, a couple of national papers and the super regionals go away?
No. I don't think it's like that at all. There were 2 papers in Seattle. There was a joint venture there, and the evening paper died. The same thing happened in Denver. People said, oh my God, a paper's died. But there's still a major newspaper there. The problem, for instance, with the Denver paper is part of a group that's very, very heavily indebted. There have been a lot of newspaper deals done in the last 10 years in which people have taken on ridiculous debt.
Private equity firms getting into the newspaper.
Yes, but if you have a look at the Tribune Company, for instance, they're big papers, Los Angeles Times, Chicago Tribune. I bet you they're still making money individually, but they can't pay their interest bills. So we're saying, oh, they're in bankruptcy, it's terrible. That doesn't mean the end of a newspaper. It simply means that someone's going to buy them from a bank.
Well, that's in Chicago, both dailies basically are in big trouble. So what happens then?
No, one will go away.
That's okay. One's gonna have to go away.
It's very hard. It's very hard to see how the Sun-Times can keep going. I thought it was very hard 10 years ago when I owned it.
I know you have to run, but I want to ask you this because we're talking about General Motors, and there is some analogies here to the paper business. People say, well, they're vital to America. There's even been talk: does the New York Times need a bail? Does it need to be protected by the government as the fourth estate? But I will say this: what role do papers play in not a pure creditor structure, in a national need structure, if any?
A vital role. Look,
deserving of government money?
No, not at all. We would never take money from a government. We'd give up our freedoms and everything else to criticize or to play our full role in the community. Nothing that news owns will ever take money from a government, and I don't believe even the New York Times would. I don't even think the government would do it. They'd realize this would be the end of it.
But there's no debtor-in-possession financing privately that we know of for General Motors. You've talked about the debt structure of companies like Tribune. What if there's no private money to relieve some of these companies of their balance sheet burdens?
There is private money. The people who have left, who put in private money into these highly leveraged situations, have probably lost it. And the banks that allowed them to leverage up may have lost half their money. That's life. That's capitalism. That's okay.
I'll leave it there, Mr. Murdoch.
Okay.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you very much for taking some time with us. Rupert Murdoch, Chairman and CEO of News Corporation. So there you go. There will be newspapers in 10 to 15 years. They may be on an electronic tablet, but they will exist. Mr. Murdoch, thank you again very